We are in our Bible series called The Bible's Then and Now, How to Maintain the Awakening of Your Soul. And we've been using the Sermon on the amount of energy you're willing to put into these practices to help us awaken to who we are. And we've been using the 9 statements that are in the Sermon on the Mount, 7 of them, to talk about the different chakra centers, energy centers inside of our body that equate to the spiritual essence of us. And last week we were at the heart center. We moved the energies up to the heart. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for the truth, for they shall be filled. Yes, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for the truth. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and her righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So we opened up our hearts to hunger and thirst, to even get a little tiny little niblet of the wonderful essence and teachings can sustain us for hours. A little tiny taste of it. I see you sometimes walking out with it. A little bit of a drink of that which comes from nourishment, of that which when you drink of it you should not thirst again, is enough to sustain us. That open heart. And now we're moving up to the throat center, to the seat of surrender. Surrender to the vocal, to the voice, to being not only the thought but the word and the deed and action on our planet. And it's opened up through blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the merciful, for when you give mercy to others, you obtain it for yourself, because there's nobody else here but us. So the mercy I extend to others is the mercy I receive for myself. So we're here to extend that mercy out into the world. Other words that we use for mercy are compassion, kindness, gentleness, forgiveness. It all fits in with extending mercy into the world. And boy, this world could use some mercy, don't you think? Mercy sakes, what's going on when we look at how we abuse these truths. We need to extend mercy so we can obtain it first for ourselves, for our own selves. Every time we speak merciful thoughts to others, that compassion, that love, that gentleness then becomes part of what you obtain as an essence inside your own being. So today I'm going to talk about someone other than myself. Okay, is that amazing? I'll go back to me next time, 20 minutes at least next week, maybe 25. But I'm actually going to use somebody else as an example today about who extends mercy out into the world. And it's not Mahatma Gandhi, it's not Jesus, it's not Buddha, it's not Thich Nhat Hanh, it's not the Dalai Lama. It's the man named Desmond Doss. You ever hear of Desmond Doss? I knew exactly nothing about him until we sat down on Netflix and watched a documentary on what's called Conscientious Objector. It was about this man who, during World War II, wanted to serve his country, but he would not and refused to carry a weapon. Man, powerful, powerful. Powerful story of a man who extended mercy, no matter what the appearances were. He extended mercy into the world. He wanted to serve his country, but he didn't want to carry a weapon. Why? Because from the very time he was very small, he was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't know much about their philosophy or their spiritual practices. I do know that the one connection we had with Seventh-day Adventists was at our church in Kailua. We actually rented the facility because they meet on Saturdays. We met on Sunday. And what we found in our relationship with these people, in a brand new building, you know, everything spotless and brand new that we were renting from them, was kindness, compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. They were the easiest people in the world to work with. And Reverend Rob was just a walking heart chakra. So this is how this man was raised as a little boy. And the documentary shows him as a little boy staring at a thing they had on the wall, which was the 10 Commandments. Just absorbing it. It's a little tiny, tiny, tiny child. And the one that hit him most was the 6th commandment. Thou shalt not kill. That one for him was a bottom line. Thou shalt not kill. How could anyone kill anyone? I come not to kill, but to save and give life. His conscious awareness of that was there from the very moment He was conscious of even seeing anything. That was where he came from. That place of, I come not to take life, but to save life. And so when the country went to war in World War II, he signed up to be in the military, but he wanted to be a medic and not carry a weapon. And I'm telling you, that got him in trouble for doing that. He was despicably used, he was scorned, he was blamed, he was condemned, he was ostracized. They did everything they could to kick Dawson out of the military. And the only thing he gave back in return was mercy, kindness, and compassion, and said, I want to serve my country, but I cannot carry a gun to kill someone. But I will help save lives. That's why he was there. Isn't that powerful? In that way, he extended mercy through his whole being. And it wasn't something he had to remind himself to do. He didn't have to do a Course in Miracles lesson on compassion. He didn't have to do Buddhist tests, sit for hours. It was in his being. It came from the deepest depths of his being. I come not to take life, but to give life. What an incredible example of embodying the sense of the presence. I'll talk more about him as we go along. And we need people who will embody the truth that way. Right now on this planet, we need people to be real followers of Christ, not just Christians in name. Look what we do in the name of Christianity. As I speak right now, there are other ministers on pulpits. They're pounding the truth into people. They're telling them, you must believe this, and we're in, and they're out, and here's weapons, and go be part of the army of God. I see their angry signs on the streets and go, what does that have to do with mercy? Mercy, help me! What has that got to do with compassion and kindness? We don't need any weapons, friends, of mass distraction. We need to attract ourselves, our inner selves, to the truth of who we are and allow that mercy to extend forth through us. So every time I condemn or I judge or I'm angry with somebody else, I'm giving that gift, I'm obtaining that gift for me. In Unity we say everything inside of you is a mirror of something outside of you. That everything you see inside of you, even a mere thought, Jesus said about it, shows that it's still something that exists in you, otherwise you wouldn't see it outside of yourself. That's how focused we get on the inner work. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the gift of knowing that when I deal with that place in me where I'm battling with my imagined enemies, when I drop my weapons of mass distraction and refraction, I get to see what I need to do with my own self right now, and I establish myself in a kind of peace that passes all understanding. And then I extend that out through mercy and kindness and forgiveness to others. And then I'm blessed by it. And I'm blessed by the mercy I give. It is the very mercy I obtain for myself. So then the rubber hit the road. He found himself in Okinawa during what was called a great invasion. And it was a 400-foot escarpment where the enemy was up on top, just shooting people at will. And 100 men were called to go up the escarpment and go and get the enemy. Go and get the enemy. And 100 of them went over and up the top and were basically mercilessly, is that the right word? Mercilessly? Merciless. I don't know. I should. When you get a word like that, you should say, I'm practicing it going, I can't say it. Stop using it. Merciless. Mowed down. And basically, 25 of them jumped back down the escarpment. And 75 were left up on top, wounded to die. One man, one gentle man without weapons, armed only with his faith that I come not to take life, but to give life, climbed up that escarpment, stood up tall, and literally went and took care of and tended to 75 wounded men. And then he dragged one by one, each one of them, to the edge of the escarpment. And he learned this little knot as a kid that he put around there, and he lowered. 150-pound skinny guy, lowering people down one by one by one. 2.5 hours, 75 men down the escarpment. And he said, with no ego, I have to tell you this, when you watch it, you're going to see I'm not talking about anyone with an ego. He said bullets were flying all around me. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. But it didn't matter. I had to use every ounce of my strength to save as many men as I could. And that's all he cared about. was being a vessel for mercy and kindness, because he saw the face of God from the pure heart in every other being. And he lowered down 75 men. There's a picture, you'll see it when you watch it, of him standing there with these 75 people he saved. And before he went over the edge himself to go down, he tended to the wounds of one more person. An enemy. An enemy. Let him go back this way. And he went down the escarpment. Did you feel what that possibility is for you and I? How many saviors will it take to save the world? Of Course in Miracles, they ask that question, and Jesus comes back from the Course and says, one. Only takes one. And guess who is the one? You are the one. You are the Savior. You are the one that the world's been waiting for. Right here and right now, we can exercise that kind of power, that kind of caring, that kind of sharing in our life. It's possible for us to allow that to move through us, to have mercy and kindness on ourselves. It's probably the most difficult thing we do. But when we stop waging the war within ourselves, we no longer need to wage the war outside of ourselves. And then the weapon becomes love. Love. Love without conditions. There was one particular person who was most insistent that he get kicked out of the service, this one general, who's now in his 80s now. And he's looking into the camera and he goes, you know, most people, when a man gets the medal, a woman gets the Medal of Honor, they get the Medal of Honor because of one action they take, one choice, one decision that they make in their life, and it changes their life forever. With Desmond, with Dawson Doss, he kept making that decision over and over and over and over and over again. He never wavered from it. And the truth was, when they finally decided to make the next big assault up on the take that hill out, it was Sabbath, it was Saturday. Desmond practiced the Sabbath. He said, I can't go today. At that point, the gentle man without weapons was in charge of the whole 307th Infantry. They all waited. They all waited till he was done with his Sabbath. And the men would not go over the top until they held hands and were led in prayer by Desmond Doss, the Buddha, the Christ, the living example of what's our potential. There's another scene where the camera focuses in on this man who's just this presence made known on earth. He's in his 80s now, but the same look he had as a child, looking at the Ten Commandments, the same look he had when he was a soldier, handsome and young and 25 and filled with vigor, and the same as the old man that he was. You saw the same incredible look on his face. He said, there was a moment when I was taking care of this man who was wounded, and he handed me his rifle, and I held it in my hand, and then he pointed over and said, the enemy's right over there. You got a clear shot of him. He said, I had to make the decision, again, not to shoot or to kill. And I had to, because God said, I come not to kill, but to give life, and give life back. He used the gun, the weapon, to tie the man's leg up, to help him to safety. You see, the same weapon of distraction, the same weapon of attack can be used as the very thing you can use as a splint to help give life to people, not take life away. It's a great story, isn't it? It's our story. It's our glory. It's about you and me. It's about the potential we have. In every little tiny way we can do that every day, extend that mercy to others. We will not only give it, but we will receive it. It's a great gift. On Wednesday night, I talked about, and woe unto you who didn't come Wednesday. You missed it. Incredible video. You don't want to miss anything at this church. There's so many amazing things going on. But this one was with a woman named Jill Bolte Taylor, and many of you know the story. And she was a brain scientist who studied the brain, and basically she had what was known as a hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of her brain. So the left side of her brain, the analytical side, the chattering mind, the sequential mind, the mind that has lists and plans. Oh, let's see, well, how's the service going so far? I've got a wedding, let's see, I've got to pack up. We got to get going here. Well, what time is the flight tomorrow? I got to get ready to go on the flight. No. Chattering mind, it's always going, it's always telling me, what's going on, past, present, future. It's got a plan for everything. And it's the part that also gets angry and mad and shoots weapons at people. That's the left brain. Well, hers basically shut off. And she was open to her right brain, the right hemisphere, the place of oneness, wholeness, beauty, joy, unspeakable connectedness. And there's a moment in the video where she's going, and I felt this oneness moving through me. I felt connected to everyone, everything. I knew everything was perfect, that everyone was perfect, that there was nothing out of place, that everything was in God's hands. I just felt it moving through every cell and atom of my being, and her face was lit up with the same look that was on Desmond Doss's face. He was talking about not killing. The same look that's on the Buddha's face. The same look that's on Christ's face. The same look that's on the Dalai Lama's face. The same look that's on Thich Nhat Hanh's face. And it's the same look you're supposed to have on your face. Let's face it. That's what we're here for, right? To be the face, the voice, and the heart in whatever way we can to bring this forth on earth. And she goes, you know, so my left brain, it came back online. It took years for it to happen, but it came back online. And she goes, I made a vow that the most important thing I could do was teach others about this oneness. And the practice that I use over and over again, that I want to share with you that would be in your lesson summation, is I've learned how to step to the right side of my left hemisphere. Ooh. Yeah. Maureen, what are you doing? Oh, step to the right side and let the, oh, there you go, step to the left side. And just a moment of stopping, right? You connects again, and you're back again on a good day, on a good day. And there's some days when, you know, I know for me, and I know it's true for you, it feels like the distance between my left and right hemisphere is huge. Some days it's just a little step I take up is 20 feet. Sometimes it feels like it's 150 feet, and sometimes it feels like it's a 400-foot escarpment. And I can't get up no matter what I do, and I keep clawing my way back up. But every step you take in its direction, to climb back up to the awareness of the presence. Every time you reach that spot where you stand tall, unafraid, my friends, you make a huge difference on the planet. And then when the bullets fly, you cannot be touched. You cannot be harmed because you are a spiritual being and you join with the other part of all other beings who are part of that spirit. And then you become a gentle being, a gentle person, a gentle man and woman without weapons. It's our calling, you know. It's what we've come for. It's what we're back for again. In whatever small or grand or incredible ways you can do this, please practice, friends. It's not just for you that you do this, but for the benefit of all beings everywhere. Because when the two become together as one, we enter into the New Jerusalem. Behold, it's already right here and right now. Namaste.